If you are considering some kind of pivot or shift, or even a major career change, this episode is for you. Let's talk about the art of performing career alchemy, or as you might know it, envisioning and executing a career transition. Your relationship to work and your career have changed over the last few years. And that means the same old career advice just won't do. I'm Jenn Walker Wall, career strategist, resume writer, and founder of Work Wonders Careers. If you're looking to ditch overthinking and hustle culture and pursue work and life in alignment with your values and priorities, you're in the right place. Welcome to Reimagining Ambition. Welcome back to Reimagining Ambition. I am your host, Jenn Walker Wall. Happy New Year. This is our first episode of 2024. I am so excited for this fresh start, and I'm feeling grateful and excited and really just jazzed to be back with a brand new year for the podcast and, a brand new year for all of us in every way. And I'm really excited to talk about today's topic, which is career alchemy. I want to pick up on a thread that I referenced in the last couple episodes. You may know that late last year, I picked up my tarot cards again and started using them regularly. I was looking for some inspiration, some direction, something that would light the fire inside of me. I wasn't feeling super creative. I decided that I was going to pull a card for 2024. And I pulled the Magician. And I just had a moment where as soon as I pulled that card, a whole bunch of things suddenly clicked for me. I had a very visceral reaction to pulling that card. I'll link to one interpretation of the Magician card if you're curious about that, but it can really represent a lot of things. It can represent willpower and work. It is action-oriented for sure. The Magician has access to all the tools really represented in the tarot, right? That's what they use for magic, for transformation. And within a couple of weeks, I knew how I wanted to revamp a lot of our workshops. I had reached out to Bonnie, who is our brand designer, and I was like, we need some updates. Things are shifting, things are growing, things are evolving over here. And that excitement came back, that freshness, that newness for me really just came back by simply pulling a card. And I just want to say too, I pull cards a lot and I don't always have that sort of reaction where things suddenly make sense. So it was a really nice moment for me because all of a sudden, the gears are turning, it's like a rusty old piece of equipment is being turned back on, and the rusty piece of equipment is my creative energy. So I was feeling really jazzed about that. But it also made me think about alchemy in general and magic in general. And so alchemy being sort of this science of turning metal into gold or one thing into another, I think just conceptually is a really great metaphor for what we do here. We are in the business of transformation ultimately. If you think about it, alchemy and magic is something that happens for the people that we're working with and anyone involved in a career transformation or change every day. It's an inherent part of the process. There's hundreds of tiny internal and external shifts that happen. All of these steps are part of an alchemical process, right? Of changing something into something else, your career from one kind of experience into another kind of experience. When you go from feeling an urgency around being picked or selected for a job to saying no and walking away, waiting and trusting for something better, that's an example of career alchemy. When you start a tiny little side hustle, when you're working full time, that's an alchemical process. When you take a class or take a professional development workshop or you go back to school, that's career alchemy. When you realize there's a fundamental mismatch between what you thought you wanted or wanted at one point and you start doing something about it, that's career alchemy. This process often looks like a series of small, often unglamorous steps taken over time to achieve a desired outcome that best aligns your goals, your needs, and your priorities. If you are on the precipice of considering a change in your career, a transition, maybe it looks like self-employment or a side hustle to start, maybe it looks like a job search this year, you are going to be attempting career alchemy. And I think that framing is really helpful because as someone who is very strategic and tactical when it comes to these things, I often tell my clients, I have no idea where this process is going to go. I don't know what the result is going to look like and when it will come around, when it will show up. And so there's always an element here of surprise, of magic, of serendipity. But those things only happen when we do our part, when we put in the work, when we become tactical and strategic and take action. Things respond, things show up, opportunities show up. I am actually putting together a workshop on career alchemy. And if you can believe it, I've gone 10 years not having a workshop on navigating career transitions kind of at a big picture. And so I'm really excited to start putting some of those pieces together. We will be offering that workshop next month. It is already up. I will link to it. And so if you are someone whose career goals maybe need a little boost, a little rejuvenation at the start of the year, or if you are just planning on doing something with your career this year, this is the workshop for you. I would love for you to join us. It's going to be interactive. It's going to share strategies and tactics for sure, because that's so much of what we do over here. But I think it's also really important that we just, talk about what the process feels like, what you can expect and anticipate if you start down this path of uncertainty towards change. We would love to have you join us. I'm going to drop the link in the show notes. You can also head on over to workwonderscareers.com and check out our events page and see all of our workshops that we have planned through April. We're really excited about the programming that we're offering. If you're not someone with a budget for private coaching, or if you've kind of been in our ecosystem for a while, but you haven't, joined one of our programs or communities or decided to work with us yet, this is a great way to kind of get to know us. Jen O'Neill will be there co-facilitating with me. And you can kind of get a sense of how we approach this process. If you have any questions, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be, I think, very tactical and helpful, and we're going to leave room for magic. Okay. I think that's something we all can agree will be important in the year ahead. What I want to offer today is just a glimpse into what you can expect if you join us in that workshop, or you just start down this journey of career transition and alchemy on your own. And I want to just clarify what I mean by career transition, because some career transitions are tiny, some are linear, but they almost all require some kind of internal shift and an external shift. So by internal shift, I mean thinking about what you want. Maybe your goals have changed. Maybe the skills you want to leverage have changed. Maybe you need to think about yourself as a manager or leader. Maybe you need to really focus on jobs you're qualified for and stop second guessing your qualifications for jobs. Wink, wink. External shifts look like changes in behavior or changes in communication, right? And so you might see this when we're making your resume fundamentally different and conveying your skills and qualifications in new ways. That's an external shift. Or when you have been emailing yourself jobs, but not really bothering to apply or not sure how to apply, and suddenly we get you to rip the Band-Aid off and actually submit an application. That's an external shift, right? And so I'm going to be talking about career changes, big and small, and internal and external shifts. And almost every client we work with has some combination of these things, right? Like some changes are really big and significant and your job will look and sound totally different. But a lot of times, we're not looking at a 180-degree change. We're looking at a 25-degree change or a 45-degree change. Sometimes just a 10-degree change also can make a really big difference. I'm making room for all of those to be potentially good choices for you. You know your situation best. The first thing I want to say that's part of this process is something that you're probably already experiencing, which is it's uncomfortable. It's discomforting to travel and invest hard in a career path, and to start feeling like it's not the right move. A lot of times when I see people who are ready to make a change, they're over it, they're burned out, and they're exhausted, and they want a new job yesterday. But they're also often convinced that they've made a mistake, that their judgment has led them astray and into a job or line of work that they should have somehow known that this was going to be not the right job for them. For the vast majority of people that I have these conversations with, I am not sensing that these people have like massive errors in judgment. I am sensing that they are people who are learning and growing and evolving. I know it's super inconvenient. It's super inconvenient to grow out of something that you pursued with vigor, and it's uncomfortable. So what I do hear in these conversations is that maybe they didn't prioritize or they ignored or diminished early signs of dissatisfaction and mismatch. I am often hearing how life circumstances have changed their values and what they're willing to do and how they want to show up at work. If you have been someone who has lost someone close to you or just been like very changed and impacted by what you've witnessed and experienced, like you're not alone. I've been hearing that more and more. And I also find that long ignored dreams and goals and desires eventually surface to the point where they just can't be ignored anymore. It's going to be uncomfortable to recognize what's not working. It's going to be uncomfortable to realize we've put a lot of time and effort into something that's not working. It's easier to not engage with the process and not engage with that discomfort sometimes, rather than listening to it and learning from it and being patient with it. The second thing that I want you to know is that it's helpful to have flexibility and also non-negotiables. Flexibility is good. It will create more opportunities for you. But boundaries and expectations are also good because it will help us assess and sort through opportunities. We want to hold both of these things. What fits between your expectations and needs and where you can be flexible are the opportunities for you to pursue. And I think people get scared to have those expectations and boundaries for their search, thinking that it eliminates too much. People will often look once or twice and like not see anything that works for them and kind of ditch the whole idea of a transition, where the search is very surface level. And the truth is that an exploration, and definitely an actual transition, shouldn't just take place in your head. This is the worst place. This is the worst place for career transitioners to be. It must be lived in the world, okay? It must be applied. It must be integrated, because this is where we have to take what's in our head, our assumptions, our concerns, our questions, and we have to collect data on them. We cannot enter into this and just make assumptions, because that is how we end up with very few opportunities very quickly. We have to gather data points. We want to look at the gray areas, and by holding what we're flexible on and what we're less flexible on at the same time, it really creates what I find to be a healthy structure for our goals. The third thing I want to say is that I think the external shifts are often the easiest ones. You can literally come to my website and book a Resonate strategy session, which is a 75-minute session where we'll sit together and revise your resume, right? What I don't offer as a service is a 75-minute session to remove imposter syndrome or boost your confidence, because those things are much more complicated. Those things are something we need just a lot more time to address and to work with. That's why I think external shifts are usually the easiest. If you're working on your own, then maybe this doesn't feel quite as true for you. But in my experience, we're a few keystrokes away, always, from a better resume or a better LinkedIn profile. Communicating your value when you're doing something new can be really daunting. But that's also sort of like the nexus of our work and what we do best, because we can carefully examine things like potential jobs of interest or your target market. There's so many ways to kind of unpack and reposition your experience with care. and that maintains credibility and legitimacy by leveraging your past experience in the way that best serves you going forward. And clients are often amazed at how they can look on paper. There are some problems we can solve with keystrokes, and I personally love that. But these pieces around actual execution, confidence, clarity, consistency, those kinds of things, those are ongoing. Those are rarely solvable in a single call. You may need to kind of sit with confusion and discomfort or uncertainty multiple times in this effort. That doesn't mean it's impossible to navigate, so keep that in mind. If you are on the precipice of initiating a career change for 2024, or if you have had this process burning a hole in your mind for the last few weeks or months or years, I hope that you will consider really engaging with the process this year, allowing it to get a little messy, allowing it to be filled with moments of uncertainty, to externalize it, to tell friends that you trust and that support you what you're thinking about, to get help if you want it, if you want some direction for this process, because there's so many amazing things that could happen, that are possible. And our minds tend to focus on all the ways we won't get what we want. But I've worked with people who have not changed jobs, who have ultimately decided to stay where they were. And I think if you talk to them, like, you would hear that they're grateful that they went through the process because they're prepared to search, because they've got all the assets that they need. They feel more empowered and more in their job by choice, like less stuck essentially, because they have better skills to navigate through the process. And they've done the research and exploration in a very applied way and made a decision to not change jobs. Now, often when people stay in a job, what I see is that the situation at work also changes. Maybe that terrible boss or coworker leaves. Maybe you miraculously get some kind of pay increase. That's part of the serendipity of this, right? Maybe what's making your job intolerable right now will shift for you once you start this process. So that's really what I think the alchemical approach to career management is about, is we have to leave room for magic. We have to leave room for serendipity. We have to leave room for things to surprise us happily along the way. That is one of my New Year's resolutions, by the way, is to make room for magic, to allow things to happen happily and spontaneously, just because we're doing our part. No matter how hard we work, how clear we get, or how much we strategize and execute, there's going to be things that surprise us. And I think we should welcome that. We should keep that in mind as part of our process. If you are looking for support, if you're tired of doing this on your own, I'd love to invite you to come on over to workwonderscareers.com. You probably already know, yes, we work with people privately. You can take a look at our private services. But what I want to encourage you to take a look at right now are the events that we have scheduled over the next few months. Later this month, Jen and I are hosting our winter reflection retreat. So if you are looking to better clarify and attune for your goals for the year ahead, if you are looking for some quiet space and reflection time and the support of facilitators and peers alike, I would love for you to check out our winter reflection retreat. You can go ahead and purchase a ticket, and we actually have an early bird discount. So I will include the early bird code in the show notes. So check that out if you want to grab a discounted early bird ticket. And of course, we have next month's Performing Career Alchemy workshop. And I want to emphasize that this is not just a workshop for job seekers or potential job seekers. If you are thinking about self-employment, if you are thinking about freelancing, taking your career outside the 9-to-5, this is going to be helpful in getting those wheels turning as well. And we are developing the workshop for both of those audiences. So we would love to see you and have you there. As always, if you'd like to find me, you can connect with me over on Instagram. If you are not on our newsletter list, I would love to encourage you to join us. This is where we send out our invitations. This is where we send those early bird discount codes. So make sure you come on over to workwonderscareers.com and hop on our mailing list. Okay, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for listening, and cheers to a happy and successful 2024 for us all. See you next time. Thanks for joining us this week on Reimagining Ambition. While you're here, please hit subscribe or follow, and make sure you always get our latest episodes. And if you'd like endless gratitude from yours truly, please consider leaving a review. It really helps our podcast attract new listeners. If you're looking for a hands-on career, job search, and resume support, well, that's what we do best. Come on over to workwonderscareers.com and learn how we help mission-driven professionals like you make career moves that matter.